Meanwhile, President Trump's nominee to replace his Fed chair, Jerome Powell, faced a lot of questions from lawmakers in the Senate. Happened on Capitol Hill this morning. We're talking about Kevin Warsh. He sat down before the Senate, answered a lot of questions, especially about his views on inflation and interest rates, things that really hit you in your wallet, right? Republican Senator Tom Tillis laid out his reasoning for voting against Warsh. Watch.
I'm not going to ask you anything. You can take a break and get ready for the bludgeoning on the other side. They're going to beat you till you bleed, and then they're going to beat you for bleeding. I'm going to talk about what's preventing me from being in a position to vote for you until we've spent time together in my office. You have extraordinary credentials. They're impeccable. I think the way you're dealing with the ethics issue is strong. Problem I have.
Live to Capitol Hill and CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small. Maybe you can pick it up for us there, Taurean. He said, the problem I have. What are you hearing up there on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, the problem he has is with this DOJ investigation into Jerome Powell, the current Fed chair. He believes that this is a level of impropriety that would suggest that there is a pressure campaign from the Trump administration to get the Fed to react kind of in kind to the president's calls to cut interest rates at a steady rate. And that is something that, other Republicans have looked to distance the president from. That's even something that Tillis himself said, that he doesn't necessarily believe that this is from the president's direction, but he believes that attorneys at the Justice Department are leading this charge. But at the heart of quite a few comments to Warsh here from Democrats is the air of independence. Should he be confirmed by the Senate? And this exchange between Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island and Warsh, I thought, was pretty instructive. Take a listen.
Do you suspect that he chose you because you indicated to him that you want to cut rates?
Senator, I don't know the reason for the president's choice, but I can tell you what I've been writing about for 15 years and what I said to the president, which is
you're going to I'll cut rates if you give me the job.
No, that's not what I said, Senator. Now, the president, as you might know, much like virtually all presidents I've either known or studied, presidents tend to be for cutting rates. I think the difference is President Trump expresses it quite publicly without surrogates or subterfuge, but presidents want lower rates. But Fed independence is up to the Fed. Fed leadership has to make a decision about what's the right thing to do.
No,
in my judgment,
you're a leader. You're the leader. You establish the moral and ethical standards and economic principles of the Fed. And you just pass it off to, well, it's not my job, it's everybody's job. That means it's nobody's job. Thank you.
Warsh's rich background as a Wall Street insider, on top of previously serving on the Fed Board of Governors from 2006 to 2011, is obviously something that's appealing to the president. But I think ultimately his alignment with President Trump on having the Fed cut interest rates is what made him so appealing to the president and to quite a few Republicans. One other thing to point out, if you notice in that video, and hat tip to Armugo Adigwe for pointing this out, but NFL legend Larry Fitzgerald sitting behind him. Apparently the two are friends. Nothing to do with this hearing, but just thought to point that out to our viewers.
Kind of a fascinating little footnote to it. Also on the Hill today, something a little heavier. Two more representatives under pressure. Apparently one Florida Democrat facing an ethics committee vote later today. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so around 2 o'clock, the House Ethics Committee will decide sanctions for the representative from Florida, Sheila Sherfilis McCormick. She, of course, was found guilty by the same panel for a campaign finance scheme, as she's also facing a similar parallel criminal investigation. So this is ultimately the consequences of their finding. This could be anything from expulsion to censure to a reprimand to fines. But I also want to point out that there has been calls, especially in light of the ousters of Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez, from several lawmakers for her to be expelled. There's quite a few members looking to send a resolution to expel her to the House floor. I want to point out Corey Mills, though. He is quite interesting because he has been under fire for allegations of sexual misconduct. Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina is threatening to expose or to expel him, and he's pushed back, saying that he'll put out a resolution if she does against her for similar allegations. This is something that Speaker Johnson said, hold on, let's not go too far, let's let the process play out. This is what he had to say earlier today about Representative McCormick.
We are always concerned when allegations of inappropriate behavior and certainly sexual misconduct are made against members. If you talk to Representative Mills, and he's entitled to do that, he has said that all of these allegations are untrue. He is working through that. There is a due process that he is allowed, and they're going through that process, as have all the other members. It took Sheriff Liz McCormick over 2 years for them to work through that in a deliberative fashion. So we support that process. We don't prejudge anything. I can decry how horrific allegations are, but until they're proven, they're only allegations.
Speaker Johnson there just again pointing out that he wants to see due process play out before some consequences are had. And I have to point out our interview, our CBS News interview conducted by our Caitlin Huey-Burns with Representative Luna from Florida was quite instructive as well, considering that there have now been calls to investigate this fund that the House has, the House Ethics has, that essentially, in her words, swept under the rug allegations from staffers and other women targeted by quite a few lawmakers. She's hoping to expose that and make that as transparent as possible.
Taurean Small, what a time it is on Capitol Hill. Thank you so much for following all of it.